everyone, I'm Maki. The Gundam series has a tradition. The tradition is that the second unit gets stolen. The Gundam Mark II is probably where this tradition began. Another example of this tradition is the Gundam GP02 featured in 0083. As an unconventional example, the Gundam UNIT2 is also a stolen Gundam and could be considered a second unit. This time, we are going to study the Gundam Blue Destiny Unit 2. Although it belongs to the Earth's Federation forces, it is stolen by the Zeon forces. As its name suggests, it is the second unit in the Blue Destiny series. I also have videos explaining Unit 1 and the exam system, so please check them out. Now, let's unread the modifications made to Unit 2 and its fascinating features together. Please consider subscribing to my channel for just 99 cents per month. As a thank you, you will receive a name badge and comment stamps. Now, let's begin our analysis. Dr. Crust Morse began developing a new mobile suit using the operational data gathered from Blue Destiny Unit 1. When he defected from the Principality of Zeon to the Earth's Federation government, 2 exam system core units remained among those he had brought with him. Initially, Blue Destiny Unit 2 was developed with the same specifications as Unit 1. The intention was for it to be a completed version that incorporated the operational data. However, the overall cost of the war affected the project. On 9 November Universal Century 0079, the Earth's Federation forces completed operational descent, achieving a major victory over the Zeon forces. This led to the prediction that fighting on Earth would decrease from that point onwards. The Federation forces were increasingly likely to launch attacks against the Principality of Zeon space fortresses and main strongholds. Consequently, Blue Destiny Unit 2 was required to undergo modifications to enable it to fight in space. This requirement also aligned with Crust's goal. Crust believed that the enemies that had to be defeated were the new types. While he was a member of the Flanagan Institute, he witnessed the development of new type weapons. These new weapons, known as psycho-new weapons, displayed tremendous combat capabilities in space. In order to defeat the psycho-new weapons and the new types who used them, Blue Destiny Unit 2 also needed to gain the ability to fight in space. As its name suggests, the Gundam ground type, which formed the basis of the Blue Destiny series, was a mobile suit designed for combat in environments with gravity and an atmosphere. However, many of the Gundam ground type's parts came from the LX-78. The LX-78 was a mobile suit designed for use in no environments and was naturally also capable of fighting in space. The Gundam ground type could easily be adapted for space combat by adding a life support system to the cockpit and replacing its thrusters. With the Earth's Federation forces and Crust now sharing the same goals, the modifications to Blue Destiny Unit 2 continued. Now, let's take a look at the features of the Blue Destiny Unit 2. The most significant modification is the backpack. It has the same type of backpack as Blue Destiny Unit 1 with an additional one fitted over the top. The original backpack has not been replaced with a new model for a reason. The missile container and cooling systems installed in the chest are integrated with the backpack. These systems were designed by Alif Kamar. Alif participated in the development of the Gundam ground type and was one of the most capable engineers in the Federation forces at the time. It was therefore decided that it would be the most efficient choice to continue using the excellent systems designed by Aleph in their original form. Next is the head. Blue Destiny Unit 1 was equipped with the head of a gym ground type. Consequently, it had the unusual appearance of a Gundam body with a gym head. However, Blue Destiny Unit 2 was developed using the Gundam ground type as the basis for its design from the outset. For this reason, a Gundam type head was also used. A minor detail is that the cooling method was changed to one that could be used in space. The computer installed in the cockpit was also replaced. A more advanced computer than that used in Unit 1 was required to control its movement in space. However, they were unable to obtain the latest learning computer used in the LX-78. The reason for this is unknown. Was it because parts for the LX-78 were expensive? Or were other projects given priority over Blue Destiny? The truth remains unknown. In the novel version, Yu Kajima speculates that the leadership of the Federation forces seems to believe that it may be time to bring the exam project to an end. This is open to each fan's interpretation. Unable to obtain the latest computer, they installed a modified version of the Gundam ground type's computer with a special dual type configuration. This gave Blue Destiny Unit 2 the ability to fight in space. Although they could not obtain the latest computer, they did succeed in receiving operational data from the LX-78. This enabled them to incorporate data from Admiral Ray's space combat operations into the computer. In space, moving your arms or legs changes the orientation of your entire body. In the Universal Century universe, this phenomenon is known as unback. By obtaining Admiral's data, the unit became capable of performing efficient unback maneuvers. However, the data obtained came from Admiral Ray's battles in space during the first half of the original 0079 story. This was not combat data from Admiral after he awakened as a new type during the second half of the story. As mentioned earlier, the data received came from the LX-78 before it underwent magnetic coating. Consequently, it was necessary to adjust the control program for Blue Destiny Unit 2, which had already undergone magnetic coating. Blue Destiny Unit 2 was also assigned the role of providing space testing data for use when the LX-78 underwent magnetic coating. However, because Unit 2 was stolen by the Zeon forces, it was unable to fulfill this role. These are the design features of Blue Destiny Unit 2. The Zeon forces would ultimately operate Blue Destiny Unit 2. But why did this happen? Let's take a look at how it came about. Blue Destiny Unit 1 was completed as a powerful mobile suit. Once it gained an excellent pilot Yu Kajima who could use it properly, its operational testing progressed smoothly. Meanwhile, Aleph Camera developed and implemented a limiter for the exam system that could suppress its out-of-control state. Thus, a mobile suit that would be useful to the Federation forces gradually moved closer to completion. However, Drive Crust Morse, the developer of the exam system, was dissatisfied with this situation. It was the limiter developed by Aleph that particularly frustrated him. While the limiter made it possible to operate Unit 1 reliably, it also restricted the capabilities of exam. Some sources even state that the limiter reduced exam's capabilities by half. Aleph was the technical officer responsible for designing the Gundam ground type. He also had a deep passion for mobile suits and mechanics. Without someone with Aleph's personality cooperating with the project, Blue Destiny Unit 1 would never have been completed. The newly designed limiter was useful in achieving what Aleph considered to be the ideal weapon. However, Klaus' objective was different. He wanted all types to gain the combat capabilities needed to oppose new types and win the confrontation he believed would eventually occur between the two groups. Gradually, the Blue Destiny project began to drift away from Klaus' original vision. Once Unit 1 was complete, Klaus entrusted its operational testing to Aleph, you and the others, while he devoted himself to developing its successor, Unit 2. In the story, Aleph conducts a test of Unit 1 using a simulator. He came up with this test himself, and Klaus was not involved. Exam was separated from Unit 1's body, and its control data was transmitted to the simulator for an operational test. It was believed that this method would prevent any danger if exam went out of control. While it was an extremely logical way to test the performance of our weapon, it was completely meaningless to Klaus, who sought the power to fight new types. Of course, the enemy units in the simulator did not emit brain waves. Klaus said almost nothing about the test. Then an incident occurred. Nimbus, shooters and of the Zeon forces attacked the base, where you and the others were conducting the tests. During the attack, Nimbus stole Blue Destiny Unit 2. This incident raised a question in Yu's mind. How did the Zeon forces know where the highly classified Blue Destiny was being tested? Then immediately after Unit 2 was stolen, something baffling happened. Klaus was captured by Unit 2, which was being piloted by Nimbus. Having found the traitor, Nimbus directed intense hostility towards Klaus. However, Klaus smiled as he spoke to Nimbus. As I expected, you are able to use exam more effectively. Make good use of it. You are the one who will judge the new types. Nimbus concluded that Klaus was a coward, only speaking favorably because he did not want to be killed. Klaus was then crushed to death by Unit 2. You speculated Klaus leaked information to Zeon and handed over the new Blue Destiny Unit 2 to Nimbus. However, as Klaus had died, the truth remained unknown. Blue Destiny Unit 2 is also equipped with the exam system. However, its most notable feature is the absence of the limiter developed by Aleph. The reason for this is unknown. One possible interpretation is that Klaus was dissatisfied with the limiter and designed the unit with the intention of handing it over to the Zeon forces. However, the truth remains unknown. Without a limiter, exam displays astonishing combat capabilities, but there is also a very high chance that it will enter an out-of-control state in which it loses the ability to distinguish between allies and enemies. Nevertheless, Klaus had made improvements to exam. The monitoring unit, which measured the brain waves of nearby people, had its sensitivity narrowed. Reducing the range detected by the monitoring unit made it less likely to observe the brain waves of large numbers of people. This reduced the likelihood of exam entering an uncontrollable state, even when faced with a situation in which large numbers of people were experiencing the fear of death. It was equipped with an enhanced version of exam, which was designed to accurately identify and destroy new types encountered as enemies. However, the lack of a limiter in Blue Destiny Unit 2 places an extremely heavy burden on its entire body. As I explained in my video about Unit 1, the joints are particularly susceptible to wear and tear due to heat. If these parts wear out and break, the unit will naturally lose its combat capabilities. In the novel, Alif also explains what would happen if exam were used for more than 5 minutes. While feeding information to the pilot, exam also creates a stronger link between the mobile suit and the pilot. It isn't clear exactly what this linking process involves. In the story, Yu says that he can control the arms and legs of the mobile suit as freely as his own body, and can also sense the smell and temperature of the air on the battlefield. Alif speculates that if this link continues for more than 5 minutes, it will cause severe damage to the pilot's mind. Indeed, after Blue Destiny Unit 1 ceased to function, Yu opened the cockpit hatch and attacked an enemy mobile suit with a handgun. His excessive hatred of the enemy had been amplified, causing him to act as he did. Later, when he remembered what he had done, Yu said that although he knew it was a meaningless action, his anger and hatred had reached their absolute limit, and he had carried it out without thinking. This is what can happen when exam is used without a limiter. In the story, Yu pilots Blue Destiny Unit 3 and destroys Unit 2 before its limiter activates. Although the story has a happy ending we never see, Unit 2 performed beyond the limits of exam. What combat capabilities would Unit 2 have displayed if exam had been fully unleashed? Would it have become a destructive entity driven by overwhelming murderous intent and hatred? Or would its body have quickly overheated, causing it to self-destruct and lose the battle? The truth remains unknown. Now, let's take a look at the weapons of the Blue Destiny Unit 2. It is essentially armed with the same weapons as Blue Destiny Unit 1. It has Vulcan guns on its head and chest. A beam saber is also included as standard. Now, let's look at the weapons that differ from those of Unit 1. First are the chest missiles. This weapon can launch wire-guided missiles. In the novel, Yu discusses the changes made to the chest missile specifications. He says that modifying them for space use increased their carrying capacity several-fold. Missiles used on Earth require a large amount of propellant. However, in space, a very small amount of propellant is enough to achieve sufficient speed. Additionally, the destructive power of the fragments scattered by the explosion can be increased more easily than on Earth. For this reason, the missiles could be made smaller. Yu says this about the missiles on Unit 3. But Unit 3 was originally intended to provide spare parts for Unit 2. Therefore, it is highly likely that the chest missiles on Unit 2 had the same specifications. Next is the beam rifle. In Universal Century 0079, it was an extremely valuable weapon. Towards the end of the war, the Zeon forces began producing the Gelgug, and the beam rifle became standard equipment. However, they had the disadvantage of having a very high defect rate during production. The Federation forces were subject to the same conditions, and unlike other weapons, beam rifles were subject to strict operational regulations. The beam rifle equipped on the Blue Destiny Unit 2 is the same type used on the Gundam ground type. It was redesigned from the LX-78 beam rifle. Its basic specifications are the same, but the size is smaller. The LX-78's beam rifle was designed not only for combat against mobile suits, but also for anti-ship battles, so its targeting system was multifunctional and high performance. In contrast, the Gundam ground type was intended for use against aircraft and mobile suits, so its structure was simplified. Consequently, the sight was made smaller. When this beam rifle was completed, it required dedicated equipment at a carrier or base to recharge its beam energy. Naturally, the beam rifle used by Blue Destiny Unit 2 was manufactured according to Earth's Federation Forces standards. It isn't clear whether its energy could be recharged using Xeon equipment. The Xeon forces found it difficult to operate the Geldux beam rifle reliably at the time, so it is doubtful that they had the ability to maintain the beam rifle built to a different standard. If it had been returned to base without being defeated by you, it might have been given a different weapon. Finally, there is the shield. In games, it is often equipped with the same type of shield used by the Gym Command and similar units. There is also a setting in which it can be equipped with the same type of shield as the Alex-78. This is used with the cross-shaped Earth's Federation Forces emblem removed. When it is released as a figure or other product, the Xeon emblem is often painted on. The same type of shield used by the Alex-78 can carry magazines and spare beam sabers attached to it. These are the standard equipment items of Blue Destiny Unit 2. In theory, it can also carry standard weapons used by the Earth's Federation Forces. Its palms contain connectors that are used to operate weapons for Federation Forces mobile suits. However, as Unit 2 was stolen by Xeon forces, it was almost impossible to obtain such weapons. The only way to obtain them would be to take them from the enemy. Finally, let's take a look at the different versions of the Blue Destiny Unit 2. First is the standard version. This is what it looked like when it was first completed. Its entire body is painted blue. It was painted according to the philosophy of Dr. Crust, which I introduced in my video about Unit 1. Next is the Xeon Forces version. Its shoulders are red, reflecting the personal taste of its pilot, Nimbus Shooter Zen. Only the paint scheme has changed. There is no difference in performance. Next is the color scheme from the initial concept. This version appears in an official reference book. It was designed by Mr. Kunio Okawara. The arms, face and head antennae are painted white. The barrels of the chest Vulcan guns are also red. Another distinctive feature is the number 02 painted on the shoulders. However, when the Blue Destiny game was released, the available game console was not powerful enough to reproduce such detailed colors. For this reason, the design was changed. It is a very cool color scheme, so anyone confident in the painting skills might enjoy recreating it with a Gun Pro model or figure. Finally, there is the comic book version. Several comics are based on the Blue Destiny story. The latest comic has the subtitle The Blue Destiny and features a different appearance. The setting has also changed, and the Blue Destiny is now described as having been developed based on a new mobile suit called the Alex-80. It can equip weapons used by the Xeon forces, which makes it very appealing. Unfortunately, Sekialan of this comic has been suspended, and the story remains unfinished. Which version of Blue Destiny Unit 2 did you like the most? I think the version designed by Okawara looks extremely cool. It's a shame that the design had to be changed due to the limitations of the game console. I am fascinated by this highly skilled designer who created so many Gundams. That concludes today's research. Thank you for watching until the end. I'll see you again in the next video.